Fishnet Bible Stories proudly presents Jacob and Esau's full series. Jacob and Esau are born. Rebekah was Isaac's bride, and they were a happy pair. But they couldn't have children for 20 years. Isaac prayed for Rebekah, and God answered his prayer. Rebekah became pregnant, and they were full of good cheer. As Rebekah's belly grew bigger, she felt a great struggle. She asked God,
"What is all this punching I feel inside? Why do I feel there is trouble?"
God replied,
"Two baby boys are growing inside. They will make two separate nations and live two separate lives. One nation will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger."
Twin baby boys were born, just as God had sworn. The first baby was covered with hair. They called him Esau because his thick hair was so rare. The second baby struggled to be firstborn. He grabbed his brother's heel as he was being born. They called him Jacob because he grabbed Esau's heel. God's destiny for each of these boys will soon be revealed. Esau sells his birthright. Isaac and Rebekah had two sons. Esau, the older, loved the outdoors and hunted wild beasts. He had the birthright, which meant of all his parents' wealth, he would receive the larger portion. Isaac loved Esau, who would cook his father's spicy wild game to eat. Jacob, the younger, loved to be indoors. He kept the books for the family as he grew. Rebekah loved that Jacob helped her with all of the chores. He loved to cook and made a delicious lentil stew. One day, Jacob was cooking some hearty red lentil stew. Esau came from a hard day of hunting, too tired to cook his own meal. He demanded that Jacob serve him some red lentil stew. Deceitfully, Jacob demanded Esau to make him a deal.
"First you must sell me your birthright.
Jacob demanded.
Then I will serve you some red lentil stew." "What good is my birthright when I'm starving?"
Esau commanded.
"I don't care about my birthright. Serve me red lentil stew." "Gladly,"
said Jacob.
"but first you must swear that the birthright is mine."
Esau replied,
"I swear to you that the birthright is all yours and not mine."
So Jacob deceived Esau into selling him his birthright. Then Jacob served Esau some bread and red lentil stew. After Esau guzzled his stew and ate his last bite, he left with a promise he couldn't undo. Jacob deceived Esau, and Esau hated his birthright. Both Jacob and Esau did wrong in God's sight. Isaac's wells. Just as in the time of Abraham, there was another famine in the land. Isaac went to Abimelech, the Philistine king, to ask for a helping hand. The Lord appeared to Isaac and gave him this command:
"Do not go to Egypt like Abraham did. Obey me, and I will bless you in this land. You will have more descendants than stars in the sky. I will bless them and give them all these lands to occupy. They will bless all the nations of the world. Now obey my command."
Isaac obeyed and stayed in the land. Isaac planted crops in the land that year. All of his crops grew large and strong and healthy. Isaac became very wealthy, which filled the Philistines with envy. Isaac had many servants, flocks, and herds. The Philistines were jealous and spoke of Isaac with angry words. The Philistines were so mad that they filled up Abraham's old wells with earth. Jealous and angry, King Abimelech said,
"Move away from us! You have become way too rich and powerful for us.
Isaac moved away to the valley of Gerar and reopened Abraham's old wells. In Gerar, Isaac's servants discovered 2 wells of fresh water. The herders of Gerar fought with him over those wells. Isaac's servants dug another well of fresh water. No one fought with him, so he was able to keep that well. The Lord blessed Isaac with good land and fresh water. Isaac's treaty. Isaac traveled to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him there. He said,
I am the God of Abraham. Do not be afraid, because I am with you. Because of my promise to Abraham, your descendants will be many. They will be everywhere.
Isaac pitched his tent, built an altar, and dug another well there too. King Abimelech visited Isaac one day. Isaac said,
Why are you here? You sent me away.
Abimelech said,
The Lord is with you. We treated you well and the fighting has ceased. We want a treaty that you will not harm us, so we can all be at peace.
Isaac's servants set out food and drink, and they enjoyed a great feast. The next morning, the men made a treaty so they could all live in peace. Then Abimelech went back home, and they all lived in peace. On that very same day, Isaac's servants dug another well.
We have found fresh water.
The servants yelled. The well was a sign of God's promise, so it was named Sheba. The well of Sheba is in the town of Beersheba. When Esau turned 40 years old, he married 2 wives. They were Hittite women, and they made Isaac and Rebekah sigh. They caused grief to the family all the days of their lives. Jacob steals the blessing. Isaac was a very old man. His eyes were weak, and he was losing his sight. He called for Esau, his firstborn son, to give him a special mission.
Esau, my son, go hunting for wild game to cook for me tonight. Then I will give you my special blessing. This is my commission.
Rebekah overheard Isaac asking Esau for a special meal. As soon as Esau left to hunt, she formed a plan to change the deal. She told Jacob that his father requested tasty food to savor. She told Jacob,
Kill a goat for me to cook. Then Isaac will bless you with God's favor.
But Esau is hairy, and I am not. If father grabs my hand, he will know he is being deceived. He will be angry and curse me on the spot.
Rebekah said.
He will not. Let his curse fall on me.
Rebekah cooked the savory goat and bread. She dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes hanging by his bed. She covered Jacob's arms with goatskin so Isaac would be misled. Jacob took the food to Isaac. Isaac asked,
Who are you?
Jacob lied.
I am Esau, your firstborn. I have hunted some wild game for you. I prepared it for you to enjoy and savor. When you're done, please give me the blessing. I want God's favor.
How did you find the game so quickly?
Isaac asked. Jacob replied.
Your God put the game in front of my path.
Isaac tested Jacob.
Come close to me so I can touch you, my son.
Isaac touched the goatskins that covered Jacob's arms, but the test was not done. Isaac said,
The voice sounds like Jacob, but these are Esau's hairy arms. Are you sure you're Esau?
Isaac asked.
Yes, I am,
Replied Jacob, trying not to sound alarmed.
My son, let me eat your savory game, and then I will give you my blessing.
So Jacob served his father and waited for him to finish his meal. Then Isaac pulled Jacob close to kiss him. He smelled Esau's clothes, which smelled like the fields. Convinced that Jacob was Esau, he gave Jacob his blessing.
May God give you the dew from heaven and the crops from the plains. May you always have wine and grain. May the nations bow before you. May your brothers bow before you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed."
Jacob raced out of the tent as soon as Isaac was done with his meal. With his own savory meal, Esau immediately came along. He asked Isaac to give him the blessing. This was the deal. But Isaac was shocked and realized that something was very wrong. Isaac asked him,
"Who are you?"
Esau replied,
"It's me, father, Esau, your firstborn son."
Very upset, Isaac said.
"But I already blessed the man who just passed through."
Isaac trembled.
"I gave him the blessing. What is done is done."
When Esau heard what had happened, he made a loud cry. He begged Isaac to give him a blessing. This was the deal. But Isaac explained that Jacob deceived him and lied. The blessing still stands even though Jacob was a heel. Esau cried.
"No wonder his name is Jacob. He has deceived me twice. He stole my birthright, and now he has stolen my blessing. For his deception, I am paying a great price. Is there anything you can give me, Father? Any kind of blessing?"
"What can I give you, my son? You and the nations will give Jacob honor. He will be greater than you, and he will be stronger."
Esau pleaded, and finally Isaac said,
"Away from the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth you will be led. He will rule over you. This I have decreed. But a day will come when this yoke is removed, and you will be set free."
Jacob runs from Esau. Esau begged Isaac to give him the blessing because that was their deal. The blessing was stolen by his brother Jacob because Jacob was a heel. Jacob wronged Esau twice. This deception cost Esau a great price. Esau's blood ran hot and it rushed to his head. He promised,
"I will kill Jacob when father is dead."
Rebekah heard what Esau intended to do. She told Jacob,
Esau is plotting to kill you. Save your life and run away. Stay with Laban, my brother, for a few days. Esau will calm down, and I will send for you to come back and stay.
Rebekah said to Isaac,
I am sick in my heart because of the Hittite women from around here. Why should Jacob marry someone who is mean and who sneers? Send him to my family, where he can marry a woman who is very dear.
Isaac called Jacob into his tent to bless him and send him away.
"Don't marry a local Hittite woman who is mean and who sneers. Go visit Uncle Laban. This command you must obey. Marry someone from his family who is dear and sincere. May the one true God bless you and give you many children. May your descendants become many tribes and nations. The land promised to Abraham will be given to your children. The blessing of Abraham rests on you. That is my declaration."
Isaac sent Jacob away to Padan Aram, where Uncle Laban lived, to find a wife. Esau learned that Jacob was sent away and that his Hittite wives made his parents grieve. To please his parents, he decided to find another wife. He married Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, so that his parents would be pleased. Jacob's dream. Jacob set out on his trip alone. The sun was setting, so he stopped for the night. He had no pillow, so he rested his head on a stone. Jacob fell into a deep sleep that night. Jacob dreamed that he saw a stairway from heaven that touched the ground. the mighty angels of God were walking up and down the stairs. Above the stairway was God, so distinguished and renowned. God spoke, and this is what he declared.
I am the God of your father Abraham and of Isaac. Therefore, the land which you are lying on will be given to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as countless as the sand on the seashore. To the north, south, east, and west your descendants will be sent. Through you and your descendants, the entire earth will be blessed. I will go everywhere you go and be with you in everything that you do. I will bring you back to this land that your descendants will one day possess. I will never leave you, Jacob. I will keep all my promises to you.
Jacob awoke from his deep sleep, amazed and trembling with fear. He exclaimed,
Surely I have slept at the house of God, the very gate of heaven. I will remember this dream and pour oil on this stone so that in future years others will know the city of Bethel, the house of God, is where God made this declaration.
Then Jacob made a promise to God, asking for his welfare.
Keep me safe on this journey, provide food to eat and clothes to wear. If you go everywhere I go and are with me in everything that I do, and bring me back safely to my father's household, I will give 1/10 of all I have to you.
He lifted up the stone on which he slept and poured oil on it for future generations. Others will know the city of Bethel, the house of God, is where God made this declaration. Jacob at the well. Jacob traveled to visit his uncle Laban in Padan Aram. He saw a well covered with a heavy stone at his destination. Jacob asked the shepherds,
Do you know a man named Laban? He is my close relation.
The shepherds replied,
Yes, we know Laban, your close relation.
Jacob asked,
How wonderful. Can you tell me if he is doing well?
Yes, he is well.
They replied,
Rachel, his daughter, is now coming with his flock. She can give you an explanation.
Jacob asked,
These flocks need to be watered and sent back to the pasture. Should we remove the stone from this well?
The shepherds replied,
We can't remove the heavy stone until the arrival of all the other shepherds and their flocks.
Rachel, the shepherdess, arrived at the well. When Jacob saw Rachel, he removed the heavy stone from the well and watered his uncle's flock. He kissed her, and his story he did retell.
I am Jacob, son of Rebekah, the sister of your father Laban. Please take me to your father's house because he is my close relation.
Rachel quickly ran home to tell her father Laban. He ran out and welcomed Jacob into his home, for they were close relations. Laban deceives Jacob. Before he came to Laban's land, Jacob disguised himself in Esau's clothes so his father would be deceived and misled. Esau's blood ran hot and rushed to his head. He promised to kill Jacob as soon as Isaac was dead. Jacob met beautiful Rachel, who took him to Laban, her father. He also met Leah, Laban's eldest daughter. Jacob fell in love with younger Rachel, with whom he wanted to start a new life. He offered Laban 7 years of labor to make Rachel his wife. Laban was happy to take 7 years from Jacob's life. Jacob worked for Laban 7 years, but these years quickly passed. It was time to marry Rachel. The day had come at last. During the wedding ceremony, a bride appeared before Jacob's eyes. Her face was covered with a veil. Her identity was disguised. However, it was Leah and not Rachel that Jacob had wed. Laban tricked Jacob into marrying Leah, his eldest daughter, instead.
Why have you deceived me?
Jacob demanded.
I have been misled, and you have been totally underhanded. Jacob,
Replied Laban, knowing Jacob was upset.
it is our custom that the eldest marries first, and the younger marries next. You can still marry Rachel, but I will charge you a new debt. For 7 more years of labor, you can take Rachel as your wife. Take both Leah and Rachel and start a new life.
Jacob's children. Many years ago, Sarah's womb was closed. She was desperate and filled with woe. Sarah knew that Hagar, her servant, was strong and young. She had Hagar marry Abraham so they could have a son. Years later, God saw that Jacob loved Rachel, not Leah. He had compassion for Leah and opened her womb. Leah gave Jacob 4 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. But Rachel's womb was closed and she was filled with gloom. Rachel became so jealous she felt that she could die. She was desperate and would bitterly cry. Rachel told Jacob,
Take Bilhah my servant as your wife, so she could bear you a son for me. Through Bilhah my servant, we could build a family.
Jacob took Bilhah as his wife, and she had Dan and Naphtali. When Leah stopped having babies, she felt small in Jacob's eyes. Leah was desperate and would bitterly cry. She said to Jacob,
Take Zilpah my servant as your wife, so she could bear more sons for me. Through Zilpah my servant, we could build a bigger family.
Jacob took Zilpah as his wife, and to the family she added 2 sons. Their names were Gad and Asher, but Leah was not yet done. Leah cried to God, and he answered her plea. He opened her womb again, and she was so very happy. Leah had Issachar and Zebulun, her last 2 sons. Finally, she had her daughter Dinah, and then she was done. Then God remembered Rachel, and he answered her plea. He opened Rachel's womb, and she was so happy. She bore a son named Joseph, and years later she bore another. Joseph was the son of Jacob's old age, and later on he would have a younger brother. Jacob's flocks. Jacob said to Laban,
Let me return back to my own homeland. I need to make a home for my own family. I have worked very hard and become your right-hand man. I have paid back my debt to you more than satisfactorily.
Laban replied,
I have learned that God blesses me because of you. If you leave, God's blessings will dry up and go away. Name your wages, and I will follow through. I will give you what you ask of me, as long as you stay.
Jacob said,
The little flock you had increased greatly under my care, but I need my own flocks to take care of and keep. I will watch all your flocks under my care, but let me keep every speckled and spotted goat and sheep.
Laban agreed for Jacob to keep every speckled and spotted goat and sheep. But later that day, Laban hid all the speckled and spotted goats and sheep. He gave them to his sons instead of Jacob, like he promised. He deceived Jacob by hiding the flock. Laban was dishonest. But Jacob continued to watch Laban's flocks under his care. He didn't trust Laban, and he was very aware that Laban would not keep his promise. Jacob knew that Laban was very dishonest. So he peeled back the bark on the tree branches so they appeared speckled and spotted. The flocks drank from their troughs and looked at those branches just as Jacob had plotted. When the flocks looked at those branches, they gave birth to lambs that were speckled and spotted. Jacob set apart the lambs that were speckled and spotted. He kept them separate from Laban's flocks. When the strong females looked at those branches, they gave birth to strong lambs. Jacob also kept the strong lambs separate from Laban's flocks. Laban's animals were weak, and Jacob's animals were strong. Jacob became rich even though Laban treated Jacob wrongly for so long. Jacob runs from Laban. Laban's sons complained of Jacob behind his back. They murmured,
"Jacob is using our father's wealth to make himself rich. All that our father owns, Jacob will hijack. We must warn father of Jacob's tricks."
Then God spoke to Jacob.
Go back to the land of your fathers, where you were born. I promise to go with you, as I have sworn.
So Jacob met secretly with Rachel and Leah out in the fields. They spoke quietly to each other so no one could hear.
I worked very hard for your father, but he has deceived and cheated me for many long years. His treatment towards me has been very severe. But God spoke to me in a dream. All that Laban has done to me, he has seen.
God said,
I have seen Laban's deceit. I have blessed you with many goats and sheep. Go back to the land of your fathers where you were born. I promise to go with you, as I have sworn.
Rachel and Leah listened while Jacob made his case and told them about his dream. They knew that their father was in the wrong, and they knew about their father's schemes.
Our father treated us like strangers by deceiving and cheating us too. He spent every last penny from our dowry and left none for us or you. All God has given to you belongs to us and our children too. Go ahead and obey what God has told you to do.
Jacob fled from Laban with his wives, his children, and all of his sheep and cattle. They left while Laban was shearing sheep to avoid a family battle. Rachel sneaked into Laban's tent and stole his household idols as they left. She thought she could keep them hidden and no one would learn of her theft. Laban catches Jacob. Laban found out that Jacob secretly ran away 3 days ago. Laban chased Jacob down and found him hiding in the hills below. God spoke to Laban in a dream.
Don't say anything to Jacob, bad or good.
That God would protect Jacob, Laban understood. Laban rebuked Jacob.
"Why did you steal my daughters and grandchildren and sneak away as well? You deceived me and stole my chance to say farewell. I can destroy you, but your God spoke to me in a dream last night. He told me not to say anything good or bad, even though my anger burned. I know that we should not fight, but you have stolen my household idols. What is mine, you must return."
Jacob answered Laban.
"I feared you would steal my wives, children, and all my flocks too. Search my belongings, and if you find your household idols or anything else, take them back home with you. If someone stole any of your things, they will die, I assure you."
Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen Laban's household idols. He had no clue. So Laban searched through Jacob's belongings and searched through all the tents. Rachel hid the household idols by placing them under her seat. She said to her father,
Please forgive me for not standing. I am spent.
Laban found no idols, so his search was complete. Jacob demanded,
Why do you harass me like this? What crime have I committed? From 20 long years of my hard work you have benefited. I tended your sheep in the blazing sun and the freezing cold. You cheated me and my wages you still withhold. Because God is on my side, I have what is my right. God saw my troubles and he spoke to you last night.
Laban replied,
Let's make a covenant between you and me. God will be a witness between us. Everything must go with you, and to this we must both agree.
Jacob created a pillar by turning a large stone upright. He told his family to gather stones, and they piled them high. The stones proved that there was a covenant between them that was made in God's sight. Laban said,
God keep watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters, God will remember this plight. I will not cross this line to harm you, and you will not cross this line to harm me. Remember that God is a witness of this covenant between you and me.
Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and worshipped God now that he was free to go home. In the morning, Laban blessed his daughters and grandchildren and headed back home. Jacob's prayer. After Laban said goodbye, Jacob continued his journey home. Jacob knew that God was with him. He was not alone. On his way home, Jacob saw the angels of God. He cried aloud,
This must be the camp of God.
Jacob sent messengers to tell Esau of his return. Of Esau's reaction, he was very concerned.
Tell Esau, your servant Jacob lived with Laban all of these years. He has goats, cattle, donkeys, and servants to give.
Jacob hoped that with all these presents, Esau would let him live. The messengers returned to Jacob.
Esau was aware of your return. Yes, you should be very concerned. He is on his way right now with 400 men. He cannot wait to see you again.
Jacob had no more tricks, no more schemes. He could not escape his brother Esau by any means. So Jacob prayed to God in great distress, for God had always come through for Jacob and made him blessed.
God, you told me to go back to my homeland, and I obeyed you. You blessed me even when I didn't deserve it, because you are faithful and true. Please protect me and my family from Esau. You know what he'll do.
Jacob sent more goats, cattle, and donkeys to Esau as presents. A servant from each herd spoke to Esau as they drew near.
These gifts are from your brother Jacob, your servant. He wants your favor since he is on his way here.
Jacob remained in the camp, filled with dread. He sent his presents up ahead. The sun went down and day turned into night. Jacob hoped that Esau would forgive him and they would not fight. Jacob wrestles with God. In the darkness of the night, Jacob thought of another scheme. He moved his family and his possessions safely across a stream. All alone, away from his family, Jacob was met by another man. The men wrestled each other with punches and blows. The man knocked out Jacob's hip, and he could barely stand. The man shouted loudly,
"It is daybreak! Let me go!"
Jacob shouted even louder.
I will not let you go. I will wrestle with you until you bless me. Bless me first, and then I will let you go.
The man asked Jacob.
"What is your name?"
He answered.
Jacob is my name.
The man replied.
"No longer will Jacob be your name. You will be called Israel. Your name is brand new. You wrestled with God and with man, and you came through."
Jacob asked.
Who are you? And what is your name?
The man replied.
"You do not need to know my name."
Then the man blessed Jacob on this territory. Jacob wrestled with God face to face and lived to tell the story. The moon sank down into the sky, and the night turned into day. Jacob's hip was out of its socket, and he slowly limped away. Jacob faces Esau. Jacob saw Esau marching towards him with 400 men. Jacob stepped in front of all his family. Rachel and Joseph in the back were kept. Jacob approached Esau, bowing 7 times to honor him again. Esau ran towards Jacob, tightly hugged him, and wept.
Oh, brother! Oh, my brother!
Esau asked Jacob.
Who are all these people? Are they your family?
Jacob replied.
This is the family that God has blessed to me.
Jacob's wives and children were standing all in queue. They approached and bowed to Esau, showing him respect that he was due. Then Esau asked Jacob.
Why is all this livestock being sent my way?
Jacob replied.
My lord, I sent them as a gift to honor you this day.
Esau said.
Brother, God has blessed me with plenty. Keep your cattle. There's no need.
But Jacob insisted that Esau keep the gifts so he would continue to be pleased. Esau realized that it was time to head back home and told Jacob he would lead the way. But Jacob said the children were young and the flocks were slow, and this would cause delay. Esau offered his men to help Jacob with his trip. Jacob politely refused, but was grateful they restored their relationship. Back home to Seir, Esau and his 400 men went. Jacob headed the opposite way, bought land in Shechem, and pitched his tent. Jacob built an altar to God for being his protection and his cover. He was grateful for peace between him and Esau his brother. Jacob returns to Bethel. Jacob returned to the land of his birth to dwell. He made up with Esau, and they were finally at peace. Sometime later, God told Jacob to return to where he appeared to Jacob in Bethel. He needed to build an altar there, but first, sin must cease.
Destroy all your foreign idols. Make sure everyone in your camp is clean.
Jacob buried all of their foreign idols. The people they met on their journey would not harm them because God intervened. Jacob arrived at Bethel and built an altar to God. God said to Jacob,
Israel will your name be. I am strong, and you must worship me with awe. You will have many descendants. This I decree. Nations and kings will come from you. This land that I gave Abraham will belong to your descendants. Of this I assure you.
Jacob lifted a pillar and made an altar of stone. He poured wine and oil on the rock. Jacob dedicated this place to God alone, this same land that Abraham once walked. Benjamin is born. It was time for Rachel's baby to be born. Her labor was hard and her heart was torn. The midwife cried out, "Your baby is here. Your baby is a boy. There is nothing to fear." With Rachel's last breath, she named her son
Benoni, son of my sorrow, his name will be.
But Jacob picked up the baby, this little one.
Benjamin, son of my right hand, his name will be.
On the way to Bethlehem, Rachel died. Jacob mourned his beloved bride. Jacob placed a stone where Rachel was buried. He did this in remembrance of Rachel, the beauty he married. Then Jacob remembered asking God for his welfare. God kept Jacob safe on this journey, provided food to eat and clothes to wear. God was with him everywhere he did go. God was with Jacob in everything that he did do. Now Jacob made it back safely to his father's household. God did that too. Isaac is now 180 years old, and his life is through. Isaac was gathered to his people at the end of his life. Jacob and Esau buried him next to Abraham in the family grave. The two brothers mourned their father together, and they were no longer in strife. Jacob suffered much loss, but he continued to walk with the God who saves. Esau's family tree. This is the story of Esau's family tree. There was not enough land for him and Jacob to live together. On this they did agree. So Esau moved his family to Seir, a faraway hill country. Esau had 5 sons: Eliphaz, Reuel, Jeush, Jalam, and Korah were their names. God prospered Esau and his sons in this new land just the same. Esau was so renowned, he became the father of the Edomites. The kings of Edom came from Esau's family before they were kings to rule the Israelites. Thanks for watching. This was a compilation of all of our videos on Jacob and Esau. Check out our website, fishnetbiblestories.com, to see all of our free Bible story videos, coloring sheets, lesson plans, and more. Also, keep a lookout for our upcoming series on Joseph and his brothers from the book of Genesis. Have a great day. Bye!